Hello and happy Sunday, business builders. I've been sent a number of questions. Some I know I answered on our last momentum call, but I've got, a few moments. I thought, let me just sit down and write a couple of things and record it for you. So the question was, how can we position ourselves in rooms in terms of value, whether it's a service or product that we provide in our businesses in order to access the market share and adding value in the industries that we represent. So, first of all, this is a really important question because positioning, yourself when you think about positioning in business is not necessarily about being visible, if you will, or visibility, but it's about how can we stay relevant, how can we be trustworthy, how do we steward friendships, relationships, or business clients, suppliers, so stewardship, right? And also by being very, very clear about the value that you take into every room. So one of the things that I've already taught this within the business building framework is that you must learn how to position your value in a way that helps other people to immediately understand a number of things. Four things. Number one, they immediately need to understand what kind of problem do you solve, who do you solve it for, why your solution matters, and what changes because your business exists. So the truth is, many people can enter rooms hoping that, somebody's going to notice me. But when it comes to strong business leaders, they enter every room already prepared to serve, to solve, and to contribute. Prepared to serve other people, prepared to solve problems, and prepared to contribute, i.e., add value. And the difference between all of these three matters. So, I'm going to give you some key principles that will help you position yourself well within your industry, help you to gain some market share, obviously with wisdom and some courage. So, number one is you've got to know what gap do you feel. Every industry that you can think of has pain points, it has inefficiencies, unmet needs, or areas that actually people struggle with repeatedly, time and time and time again. And your job or your responsibility is not to be everything to be everyone. You know the saying, if you're a master of everything, you're a master of none, right? But your job or your business or your focus should be that you become known for solving something really, really well. So you got to ask yourself these three questions. Number one is, what challenge does my business consistently solve? If it's just every once in a while, no. But what challenge or what problem does my business consistently solve? Or what problem will my business will, which means that once I'm set up and ready or whatever is, what problem will my business solve consistently? Question number two is, why does this matter? Why does it matter that my business solves this problem? Or why would it matter that my business will solve this problem? And question number three is, what happens when this problem remains unsolved? Okay, so if the problem remains unsolved, when you think about maybe car sales, right? You sell the car, you might think about insurance, yeah, because every car requires insurance. You might think about maintenance, so annual maintenance. What happens if people don't, do maintenance on their car? Well, they're going to get caught out with bigger bills or things going wrong with the car without them knowing. So that maintenance helps them to identify and catch anything that might be going wrong with the business a lot quicker. So when you think about, you only sell cars, there's other problems that your business consistently can solve, not just selling the car. So that's number one. When you position yourself in this way, then you create a clear demand for your business. Number two, in terms of positioning yourself in a room, is you've got to learn the language of the room. Every room that you get to would measure value differently. For example, some rooms might value profitability, maybe outcomes, maybe the speed with which you do things, or trust, maybe compliance, relationships, customer experience, or your social impact. You must understand what matters to the people you're speaking to. So you can't only communicate, passion or passionately, or that I'm passionate about whatever it is. You can communicate outcomes. If there are people in the room, much more value outcomes. Or you might communicate trust if the people value that. So this is where I believe most business leaders or business builders lose opportunity, is like explaining what you do without explaining the impact of what it is you do. Okay. Point number 3 is build credibility before you promote yourself. So a strong positioning is built, like long before you're doing sales and everything else. What do I mean by that? Strong positioning happens because people are always watching. What could people be watching for? People could be watching for consistency, your professionalism, your conduct, which is character, right? Your habits, how you communicate, your reliability, and how you treat others. And all of these things are reflected in your character, your habits, and how you do things. Okay, so your reputation goes before you. The same way it says your reputation precedes you. So that is why character matters so deeply when it comes to building business. Your skills might get you the attention, but your character is what will sustain any influence that you would ever have. Point number 4 is you have to stop impressing every room that you get into. Not every room is actually meant for you or your room. So one of the big mistakes or greatest mistakes business leaders do is overextending yourself, trying to appeal to everybody. When you're clear on who you are, what your business solves, that helps you to create authority. And people clearly understand your expertise, your focus, your values, your strengths, if you demonstrate all of those. So begin to associate, or they begin to associate with solutions in that area. So solutions that requires your expertise, or solutions that requires your focus, or solutions that requires your values or the strengths that you have. That's how you get business referrals, right? It's like, you're looking for someone, so that person's really an expert in that. Or, you're looking for this. Well, that person, I know for an absolute fact you can trust them. Trust is not expertise. Trust falls under values, right? So therefore, they would refer you. And it's also how, like, your marketing position is strengthened. And it's how the trust that you build will compound. Okay. Point number 5 is try and solve problems before you sell to others. And people always remember those that brought answers, brought them solutions, not necessarily pressure. That's why when you're buying from someone that sells to you, having a conversation, it's like, oh gosh, they were just selling at me. You kind of like switch off immediately and not interested, because you feel like all they want is just selling at me, right? So how do you avoid that? Ask really good questions, listen really well attentively, and actually seek to understand what exactly it is that they need. Then position your service or your product as a response to that need, right? If you want to build a strong business, then you have to learn how to solve problems consistently and very well. Okay. Point number 6, understand that relationships are very much a part of growing and building your business. Many opportunities will not come because you have great marketing. Many opportunities that would come your way would come because there's trust, because of proximity, credibility, consistency, and above all, relationships. So don't ever underestimate the value or the power of always showing up consistently, contributing in a really meaningful way, honoring people really well, follow through, be a person that follows through, and stay connected. People open doors for people that they trust. Okay. Point number 7, position doesn't come from being desperate. Okay, so position yourself from place of identity. So don't go into rooms, carrying insecurity or trying to prove your worth. You don't need to shrink yourself either, and you don't need to exaggerate or over, like feel so important about yourself, right? No. Know the value you bring, yes. Understand, what it is you do, yes. Refine your craft, yes. Continue to grow. I always talk about incompetency, but also in wisdom. Then serve confidently and consistently. Businesses that grow sustainably are always, almost, and will forever be built by leaders who understand both how to steward all of these things and therefore how to position themselves. Okay, so to finish, I have a question for you. When you hear, or when people hear your name within your industry, what problem do you think they immediately associate you with solving? That's a question to think with. Yeah. When people hear your name, what problem do they think or know that you solve? Or what values do people believe that you have? Just a thought. But I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any further questions, just post them, and I will be recording these short videos to help answer them for you.